Welcome to the December Stripe Collaborative Community All Members Meeting. We're glad you're here. What a year 2021 has been, and what a past couple of years. The community has been growing and developing with each and every one of yours participation and support. We're really excited about the continued growth, development, and progress that our community makes. Together. We're excited for our guest speakers that we have today, and just wanted to say thank you again for making time for Stripe. We're very grateful for each and every one of you and for your time, commitment, and support of our community. Each of us needs all of us. We couldn't do this without you. I'd like to turn it over to Sarah, who's going to talk about a couple of, or give you guys a couple updates in the community, and then we'll get into today's meeting. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Ben. Just a few announcements. So just wanted to mention the Partners in Precision Medicine series has been a huge success. And we first want to say thank you to our education team for putting together a phenomenal program. If you miss any of the sessions, they are all available on demand. Thank you also to everyone who attended and participated in the series. It's been a really great forum to discuss challenges and opportunities related to pharmacogenetics testing and engage with the broader healthcare community as well. And the theme of the series is how to find a laboratory of excellence. So was able to share insights across stakeholder perspectives. If you know a physician, a patient, or a pharmacist that's interested in providing or receiving PGX, this would be a great series to watch and learn more about some of those kind of key considerations as we all navigate the testing process. We do have the sessions available via a dedicated CME app. So all attendees receive a complimentary all access pass to the entire CME platform, as well as the series content. The last session for the series will be held this Wednesday and focuses on the international perspective. Each webinar is followed by a live breakout session with the speakers. So we hope to see you all there. As a reminder, National Adverse Drug Event Awareness Day is coming up. It's held on March 24th of each year. This is a new national day that we inaugurated earlier this year to raise awareness about adverse drug events by encouraging people to share their ADE journey and fostering the development of best practices and standards at an institutional and health system level. Since pharmacogenetics testing represents an important opportunity and really an underutilized opportunity to prevent ADEs, we're going to organize a planning committee to support the Fourth Cause campaign and coordinate communications around ADE Awareness Day in March. So if you'd like to participate as an individual or represent your company for the planning, keep an eye out for a sign-up form, or you can also email stripe@stopADR.org and we'll make sure it's sent directly to you. If you read the December newsletter, we are taking nominations for most impactful PGX paper of 2021, and we've already gotten a lot of response. So if you do want to weigh in, make sure to cast your vote via the link in the newsletter, and we'll highlight the top 5 that are in an upcoming newsletter as well. So go ahead and cast your vote for that. And we're, I think, really excited today to hear about a Pharmacogenomics Accelerator program that is spearheaded by the American Society of American Society of Health System Pharmacists and University of Minnesota. So it is my pleasure to introduce today's speakers. We have Sophia Chhay. She's the Assistant Director of the ASHP Innovation Center at the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, and David Stenehjem. He is an associate professor and associate department head with the Department of Pharmacy Practice and Pharmaceutical Sciences at the University of Minnesota College of Pharmacy. So welcome.
Great. Thank you all for having us. And as you mentioned, my name is David Stenehjem, and I'll be starting the presentation, and then Sophia will jump in towards the end. I'm going to see if I can share my slides here with everyone. Are you seeing my slides now? All right, excellent. All right, so it is my pleasure to share with you today, and Sophia's as well, to a new program that we have recently launched, and this is a collaborative effort with ASHP and the University of Minnesota, and we're calling this the Pharmacogenomic Accelerator. So as I think many of you know, and I'm preaching to the choir here, that pharmacogenomic implementation, has made great strides throughout the nation. However, what we see is that implementation is oftentimes mainly in urban academic institutions, oftentimes in very specific patient populations as well, whether it's the only an adult population or pediatric population, or for different disease states per se. I come from an oncology background, which has utilized pharmacogenetics for quite some time, and now pharmacogenomics and precision medicine is truly a standard of care. But we don't see that across all disease systems or settings. There's also very disparate implementation strategies based on that as well. And what we've heard as we've talked to multiple of institutions around the nation is that they always feel that they're trying to implement in a silo or by themselves. And so they don't necessarily, need to recreate the wheel every time an institution wants to go towards and implement pharmacogenomics. And implementation is not easy. There's many barriers to implementation, from having institutional pharmacogenomic expertise in-house, and not all centers have this. Education as well is improving, and many colleges of pharmacy like our own are implementing new curriculum for pharmacogenomics, but the current workforce, many do not feel prepared to take on this new science as well, and so that can be a barrier for current practitioners. And also trying to get multidisciplinary support sometimes can be difficult as well. Then getting into more technical and logistical issues, the information technology infrastructure, EHR integration, computerized decision support can also be complex, and having expertise in-house can be difficult to come by. There is now a multitude of labs that are having great panels, but how do institutions select what panel to utilize, and or do they develop their own panel? And so this can add to the complexity as well. And then ultimately, what are the reimbursement models, and how do you demonstrate the outcomes of a program, can all be challenging for a nascent institution to try to overcome all of these challenges or barriers personally. So there's really a need for practical implementation models where we can break down these silos to help improve implementation and adoption of pharmacogenomics at a national level, so that we can all learn together about what are the best practices to implement. So we partnered with ASHP to help create what we're calling this Pharmacogenomic Accelerator, to do exactly this, is to break down those barriers and aid in adoption of clinical implementation of pharmacogenomics using an all-teach, all-learn methodology where we can share best practices together. And this methodology is rooted in an implementation science framework that will drive clinical program development and ultimately create value towards the organization. To take a step back, what is implementation science? And I think many of you will be aware of this, but implementation science is the study and application of strategies that promote systematic uptake of evidence-based interventions into this routine clinical practice, and then ultimately improve the quality and effectiveness of healthcare services. And it's important to be documenting this process along the way to see what is this improvement in quality and effectiveness. There's many benefits to using this type of framework. It has been shown that it does accelerate healthcare change, and so hence our terminology and moniker for our program. And 14% of interventions that do not use an implementation framework are only implemented after up to 20 years, whereas 80% are with implementation framework are implemented after 3 years. And so really profound impact into utilization. And also those processes that use a implementation science framework have improved effectiveness as well through that monitoring of implementation quality and the continuous process improvement as well. So not only greater rates of adoption, but also greater effectiveness of those programs. And taken together, this does prepare for replication, sustainability, and growth of the intervention as well, which we all hope for with pharmacogenetics and pharmacogenomics. So what we built into our Pharmacogenomic Accelerator is this implementation framework, and I'll show you in the next slide a little bit more about what that looks like. But it also, as I mentioned, adds in a very component context of this collaborative approach, and this is an all-teach, all-learn environment where all institutions will be learning from each other as they go through this process. We will have dedicated coaching and through this process that are trained in the implementation science and the implementation framework that will provide accountability to the organizations and help them move through the process as well. In addition, we are going to have pharmacogenomic implementation experts that have gone through this at their institutions and have successfully implemented and can help and want to guide other institutions through this process and share their learnings as well. And if you want to take part as being an expert, we'd love to hear from you as well to help in the process as well. We're going to have webinars, live events, hopefully in the future as well. And these webinars will be this collaborative-based approach where we'll go over a particular topic for the day, maybe organizational readiness, what have you, lab selection. So there'll be a topic for the day, and then there'll be also time for this all teach, all learn, where institutions can share where they're at, what struggles they've had, and get feedback from other participating organizations. We also are going to help with the workforce education piece as well and have didactic education built in. And through our partnership with ASHP, there'll be bulk subscriptions to the pharmacogenomic certificate program that ASHP offers, and then also some didactic curriculum that is built into these monthly webinars as well. And then lastly, to help with clinical knowledge and real live case-based learning, we have started a pharmacogenomic echo. And if you're not aware of echo is an extension of community health outcomes that embeds learners in an immersive environment to learn from case-based participation, where you democratize education and use Zoom techniques like this to bring pharmacogenomic knowledge into rural communities or underserved areas that may not have the resources or the ability to be able to participate in other forms of education. And the community will present cases that they're trying to learn from. Maybe they've had pharmacogenomic testing on a patient and they want expert consultation on the results of that. And we've set up a panel of experts to help weigh in and provide context. And we launched this about 2 months ago. We've had very good participation already, and we look forward to expanding the ECHO as well into the Accelerator program and to other constituents nationwide as well. So this is the implementation system and framework that we'll be following in the Accelerator program. And I won't have time to go over this entire slide, but it follows a standardized process from getting started to orientation to pharmacogenomics and review of implementation systems and strategies, to getting towards that organizational ready piece and assessing the landscape and trying to form a multidisciplinary team together to form both a business plan and an implementation plan that's going to be specific towards pharmacogenomics, and then eventually throughout the process launching the pharmacogenomic initiative at the organization, and then building in this continuous quality improvement and metrics in order to understand the effectiveness of the program. And then hopefully at the end of the year or down the road, we'll have a multitude of institutions that can share with us their success stories of implementation and how they've affected the lives of their communities through pharmacogenomics. So this is our formula for success. This takes innovative innovations, and now with pharmacogenomics having numerous drug-gene interactions with good clinical evidence and relevance for utilization, coupled with an effective implementation plan through the Accelerator and this collaborative all-teach, all-learn environment with coaches and experts, Also coupled with enabling contexts such as now great laboratory testing, rapid turnaround, improved reimbursement. Really now we can have this synthesis together and the multiplier effect to get significant outcomes for improved health and hopefully reduce patient costs as well through the prevention of adverse drug events and also improved clinical outcomes. So together, this is the framework of our Pharmacogenomic Accelerator, which I've mentioned is this learning collaborative designed to catalyze the implementation of clinical pharmacogenomics within health systems. We're going to offer this networking opportunity, professional development, technical expertise, and then resources to help institutions successfully implement through these mechanisms that I mentioned previously. So these are the three major learning streams. We'll have cater to two predominant learner types. Both the programmatic administrators and implementation leads will be benefited through this. And then also the clinical practitioners as well will have benefit through the educational piece. The first work stream is this didactic structured education, which is the pharmacogenomic certificate program. And then also building in these structured documents, helping organizations work through a readiness plan, a business plan, an implementation plan, and that's all going to be tailored to the institution and their type of implementation that they're planning on. The second stream is the collaborative nature, this all teach, all learn, where we'll have monthly webinars and pacing events that will provide accountability to organizations, keep them on track, and then coaches to help them through the process as well. We have a learning management system that's built in place that will keep documents stored for everyone, and then also get feedback on their plans and so forth. And then the last stream is this ECHO that I mentioned previously, which are these monthly case-based teleconferences where community members can bring in real-life cases and get consultative from a panel of experts. So together, we hope that and trust that the Pharmacogenomic Accelerator will create significant value to the organization through this collaborative group where institutions can work together that are all going through this process at the same time. And we are trying to be the facilitators. We're not saying we're the experts in implementation. We are being the facilitators here to bring everyone together, to work together, and to share the resources so that we can break down these silos and institutions don't have to feel like they're in it by themselves and have to recreate something from the ground up by themselves, but we can all work together to have a successful implementation. Also importantly here, we can have these institutions get connected and networked with the pharmacogenomic community through access through the experts and people just like yourselves in order to get feedback and best practices on implementation. We hope together that this will aid in implementation efficiency through an organized, targeted strategy that provides accountability and specific tools as well towards implementation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sophia that will talk a little bit about the ASHP Innovation Center and where we're currently at.
Thanks, David. Yeah, just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of share a little bit about the ASHP Innovation Center. Depicted here is our infographic, and that's available for download at our Innovation Center website, ashp.org. Really, and it kind of outlines our mission and vision and some of our goals and focus areas. Really, what we're aiming to do here through the center is to further elevate, the vital roles that we know hospital, health system, pharmacy practitioners, and ASHP play in sort of new and emerging science, and position, pharmacists to influence the development of systems that really advance the safety and quality of patient care. And so some of our focus areas right now include artificial intelligence in the medication use process, telehealth, pharmacy practice. As you can imagine, the past almost 2 years now has really accelerated that effort. Right now, the definitely spotlight pharmacogenomics and precision medicine effort has been key for us. New care delivery methods, including digital therapeutics and sort of that umbrella of digital health. Then we do have a research component with our philanthropic arm through our ASHP Foundation. Next slide, David. Thank you. And so you can imagine, there's been great synergy with the goals of the accelerator, which really comes down to broadening adoption of pharmacogenomics, really furthering pharmacy's leadership in this space, and to create a collaborative environment for shared learning that really celebrates the successes of leading edge organizations that are investing in pharmacogenomic services. So right now, our potential participants include really hospitals, clinics, and health systems of all sizes who are either seeking to kind of start this program or service from the ground up, or really to kind of grow their current services. And our current goal is to recruit at least 10 sites for that inaugural cohort, which will begin in the spring of 2022. Thank you. And so this is right now, it'll be a 1-year commitment for the accelerator. Participation fees will be sort of individualized based on the organization size and complexity. This is an all-inclusive fee that includes the cost of the ACHP pharmacogenomic certificate, as well as individualized coaching and cohort learning sessions. And the way we're kind of leaving it is, for either interested sites or those who are interested in becoming experts or coaches to learn more through our webpage that has kind of a little bit more detail, and then really to kind of jumpstart things as a next step to schedule an inquiry meeting with us through contacting the ASHP Innovation Center at ashp.org mailbox. So with that, Dave and I just want to thank you all for, and Sarah, for the opportunity to come on and share a little bit more about this program, and happy to take any questions at this point.
Okay, looks like we have a question in the chat. Have you considered that offering PGX to your employee population as a covered benefit? And HSA and FSA eligible will accelerate acceptance and reduce overage concerns. We have a benefit program platform for PGX, and we'll also provide it to all major employers in your service area. So is that kind of, you guys mentioned reimbursement models, or those considerations that you guys are looking into?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're taking a PGX agnostic implementation strategy where, if, university system that has a dedicated healthcare delivery system in place, if they wanted to offer this through as an employee population, that would be great. And this program could help service that and help them think through that process, and potentially find experts or coaches that have done that as well. That would be really our goal, is to try to, think about, creative ways to, adopt pharmacogenomics and reimbursement models as well. And so absolutely, we're trying to recruit institutions that are thinking about this from a myriad of different ways. And, that would be one example for a reimbursement model that definitely could be considered for the organization. But we're taking a very broad-based approach that, health systems of any sizes, even individual pharmacies could, participate as well if they want to start offering this service as well. So, yep, absolutely.
Thank you for your presentation today. It's really exciting. One question that I had, I know that you guys are also working in Minnesota on a monograph / EMR implementation effort through Go4PGX. I know that the impetus behind that is to hopefully be able to, in a similar format, build a collaborative team of people that are building the monographs and kind of collaborating on CDS integration. Have you considered trying to partner that with maybe an overall subscription to help kind of fund Go4PGX for those that have a smaller institution but want to do EMR implementation?
Hey, Ryan, it's great to see you. And we are now meeting with sites that have expressed interest in the accelerator program. And what we've heard from many sites already is that the CDS issue is something that they're really excited about, participating in. And I brought this up to them as well, that the Go for PGX may be a nice add-in as well that we can, build into this program as well, and, offer that as again, kind of an open source shared service where, these institutions potentially can benefit from that as well. And I really hope that we can do that. We've got a little ways to go before it's a kind of a plug and play, solution, but we're working on that process every month as well to try to improve our Go for PGX platform. And we really hope to be able to, bring in some CDS and experts as well into the accelerator to help institutions through this. And in particular, we're thinking about bringing in those that have gone through a Cerner build or gone through an Epic build so that we can have, people that have worked on some of the major EHRs to help with some of these technical solutions to, really lower that barrier towards implementation. Because, what we've heard from sites is that that's pretty daunting for a lot of institutions to try to get that built. And then how does that funnel in with the lab and all of that? So we really hope to be able to spend quite a bit of time, with the organizations in that piece alone to help,
And I just
promote
wanted
this.
to
Yep, go ahead.
I wanted to let you know that there are organizations that are already in the process, some very far along with integrating with Epic. And so everyone doesn't have to keep recreating the wheels. There's already labs and platforms that do translations that are already there. And so for example, anyone who has our program or has our profile, any individual, any place that they have data in Epic already includes their PGX profile.
Yep. Yeah.
So I just hate to see people reinventing the wheel when they don't have to, especially when it's stuff that gives them heartburn and an excuse to delay.
David, one more question before we transition here is, would you consider implementation projects outside of a hospital setting?
Absolutely. I mean, again, as I mentioned, we're agnostic to the type of implementation and the setting. So hospital, community, pharmacy, what have you. So, we really think, this implementation framework can benefit, regardless of the setting of the implementation. So absolutely.
Terrific.
Yep. And I know we're short on time here. We're happy to share the slides as well. And if anybody wants to follow up as well, feel free to reach out to the ASHP Innovation Center, or you can find my email too on the university site. So I'd be happy to interact with any of you and really appreciate the time today, and look forward to hopefully collaborating with you all in the future.
Yep. Thanks, David. And thanks, Sophia. Our next two speakers, those of you on the call today should be familiar with. There's been quite an evolution and progress over the last year with policy that's seeking to advance pharmacogenomics across a variety of fronts. And so with us today to provide everyone an update on the progress that's being made and what we have to look forward to, we have from Representative Swalwell's office, Sarah Shapiro, and from Representative Emmer's office, Ryan Altman. So I'd like to turn it over to them to bring everyone in the community up to speed on what's going on right now with the Right Dose Drug Act. So thank you very much.
Hi, Ben. Thanks so much. And we're both happy to be here with you today. I can give a quick summary of the bill, and then I'll throw it over to Ryan in case I'm missing anything, and then just happy to take any questions. So my boss, Congressman Swalwell, and Ryan's boss, Congressman Emmer, co-chair the Personalized Medicine Caucus in Congress, and we have been working for a while on this legislation. Really excited to kind of, we've worked on genetic testing legislation, but to dive into the weeds on pharmacogenomics specifically. And so some of the problems we were hearing is that adverse drug events are frequently cited as a cause of injury and death among hospitalized patients as the result of drug-drug and drug-gene interactions, but that information about drug-gene interactions is not well integrated into patient care, and tools like electronic health records are not always consistent in how this is reported. So we were particularly interested in improving pharmacogenomic education and improving record keeping to reduce adverse drug events and drive down healthcare costs. And so generally, and I believe that most of you all, thanks to Ben and Sarah, have circulated our bill text for your review. But the bill would improve pharmacogenomics research and patient outcomes by updating the National Action Plan for Adverse Drug Event Prevention, creating a public awareness campaign. So that would have two different components, one for the general public to increase awareness about pharmacogenomic testing and to alert themselves to adverse drug events. And then also a separate healthcare professional education campaign focused on physicians and genetic counselors. And then two other components, it would create a program to improve the reporting of adverse drug events through the electronic health records, and then provide funding to NIH directly to the program that reports adverse drug events, the Genomic Community Resource Program, to better identify these drug-drug and drug-gene interactions. So I can throw it over to Ryan in case I'm missing anything, and then happy to open it up to questions.
No, I think that was perfect. Like you mentioned, big focus here on the education side of things, as obviously that's going to be key in getting this moved forward. The more people know about it, the more we can do down the road. So hopefully it'll be a step in the right direction. But like Sarah said, any questions at all? Happy to answer them.
One question that come in that I thought would be helpful for the community and for those that are not familiar with the legislative or the policy process is, from here going into the next year, what does a potential, like timeline or sequence of events look like or potentially entail, from where we are to getting it passed? And for those that might not be familiar with that process, it'd be great to educate them, on the concepts or what that might entail.
Yeah, of course. So we're hoping to introduce in early January, right after we come back from the holidays. The legislative cycle is a little crazy at the end of the year, so we think we'll kind of get more attention and be able to get more co-sponsors introducing in January. And then there's sort of two ways the bill could move. One is to go through the committee process. So the Energy and Commerce Committee has jurisdiction here. And so the bill could go through a markup and get passed through committee. Or we are hoping that it's non-controversial enough that it could go through a process called suspension of the rules, where it sort of bypasses the committee and just goes to the floor. And if no members object, or very few members object, for less controversial bills, that we can just have a direct vote on the floor. But regardless, it would sort of, even if it didn't have a committee markup process, it would still kind of have to go through committee staff to see where they are and if they have any questions and edits on it. So that's sort of the next step. We're hoping to get any final feedback and support from groups formally by the end of the month. So we'll be ready to kind of present it to committee in January.
And one thing I'd add is we are working right now on hopefully getting somebody to introduce as well on the Senate side. So that obviously opens up another avenue from that side as well. Not quite exactly the same, but similar process.
Perfect. A question we had just got that you maybe could add some more specificity to what you just said is, how long does the process typically take to become law?
That's a great question. It can take forever.
It can vary. It can vary heavily. Hopefully not terribly long, but obviously, I think getting it introduced at the beginning of the year and being able to use that time to kind of get people educated and have the full, 118th Congress to move it down the line. Hopefully we can get somewhere in that, or I guess not the full 118th, get the education through the rest of the 117th, and then if we need to look into the 118th and people will be aware of what we're doing. I think that'll be extremely helpful, since we won't be, starting from square one, like for a lot of members it is right now, just due to, even from the member side, the lack of education. But hopefully not too long. And just to answer the question right above that, we can certainly follow up with some further bill information there.
A question we get asked a lot from the community is, what can members do, those that are on this call as well as ones that will be watching this meeting later, to support the bill and to support the efforts? It'd be helpful for you guys to maybe articulate or re-articulate what that could entail.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've already been hearing from some folks, which has been incredibly helpful. But if you're part of any organized part of any organization, having the group formally endorsed, and so that can just be yes, the Association of Pharmacogenomic Testing or supports the bill. And would like to formally endorse, or even doing a letter of support would be incredibly helpful. I've been hearing from a lot of specific clinicians and geneticists, which has been wonderful. But in a press release or something like that, we're not able to list individual names. We would want to use formal organizations. So to the extent that you all belong to those groups and are able to talk to them and endorse, that would be incredibly helpful. And thank you to Terry, but the blog post that has a lot of this information as well. I also put I put the bill summary in the chat. And then Ben, I think somebody also asked about other representatives. So as Ryan mentioned, we're hoping to get the Senate co-chairs of the caucus to support the bill as well. And that's sort of our focus right now. And then once we introduce, we will circulate to the Personalized Medicine Coalition and to other members as well. And that's another place that we would love for you all to support, to the extent that you represent a congressional district. Reaching out to those members about this bill is always more helpful than it coming from us.
And I would echo that. Same goes for outreach to the committees. If your group or organization has a relationship with the committees, any note of support there is extremely helpful.
We had just gotten up. I don't know if Sarah, Ryan, if you could check the chat, there was one that had just come in regarding, and it might be really specific, but if you could look at that and see if that makes sense, regarding the requirement of drug developers to submit PGX information, or if that's outside the scope of this bill.
So it would update, not directly, it would update the National Action Plan for adverse drug event reporting, which multiple groups and experts have said has kind of been not implemented consistently in the past. And so, that's through HHS, not through FDA. But that's more for hospitals to report on. And then there is the electronic health record piece. I'm just scrolling down to the actual text. Text.
So I think one of the other things, everyone, that we can do is in our follow-up to this meeting, we can recap some of the specific ways that members can support the bill, that from Terry's blog post on PharmGKB to some of the other strategies that were mentioned, so we don't let anything fall through the cracks, and everyone that wants to support knows how to support, and we can make sure that everybody that, again, wants to take action can, and for those that don't, that's fine. That's the way the community works. We want to create a forum for people to share these ideas and opportunities, and each and every one of you can take action as appropriately or as accordingly. Great. Maybe time for just one more, or before our speakers have to depart.
Oh, sorry, Ben. Let me give a better answer to the impact on companies. So it's really just in section 5, which is the improving electronic health records. And so that would be before, a medication order is completed, and that must automatically indicate a user drug gene or drug gene interaction. But the way that the section is set up is that HHS would establish guidance. So we do leave it to the agency to be specific on that. But I do not think it would have much of an impact on companies as much as it would on HHS and FDA directly.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks, Sarah.
On this and sharing information and how to get involved. So up next, we will hear from the committee. So we'll kind of do a roll call if we have any updates from our Stripe committees. First, we have our Communication Affairs Subcommittee.
Hi, Sarah. Tricia's here.
Hey, Tricia.
Hi, everyone. So just a quick update from us. Just want to remind you that if you are not getting our bi-monthly newsletter, please let us know so we can make sure you're on the distribution list. This is really where we highlight all of the key activities of the Stripe Collaborative community. And we're very interested in hearing about other industry meetings, big papers, etc. So please let us know about big happenings in the committee and we will feature them in the newsletter. I just want to give a shout out to Jenna Youngkin on the communications subcommittee. She's been leading the newsletter this year and also working with Sarah on our social media channels. So thank you, Jenna and Sarah, for getting both of those activities set up for us this year. If you guys are not signed up to the Stripe Collaborative community on LinkedIn, or you're not following us on Twitter, please do so, because again, that just helps elevate the profile of the collaborative community as we have more and more members and more followers. The other thing I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of is Rachel Brummert's been leading a new podcast series. So that's called Real Talk with Rachel, Conversations with Patient Advocates. So if you're interested in hearing about those conversations, again, the link is in the newsletter and also on the ASP website. And thank you, Rachel, for kicking that off. I think it's super important that as all of us in the community work towards, greater PGX implementation strategies, we always consider the patients. And then last is the webinar series. Sarah did a great job of summarizing that. Thank you, Sarah and Sean and the committee for putting that together. That was a ton of work and tons of participation by many members of the collaborative community. So thank you guys for that. And just wanted to call out that we did have a lot of member organizations sponsor the webinar series. So that was Coriel Life Sciences, Dynamic DNA Lab, Illumina, OneOme, PacBio, and Thermo Fisher Scientific. So thank you to our sponsors for making that happen from a financial perspective. That's all I have for today.
Great, thank you, Tricia, and tremendous work this year with our Communication Affairs Committee and a ton of progress and outreach. Up next is consensus development. If we have anyone from consensus development to share updates, feel free.
So it seems like Gwen and Carrie and Allison had to leave earlier for a commitment. And so just a quick recap, guys. The Consensus Development Committee launches kickoff call in October. The leadership team had met over the last 30 days to set objectives and key results for the new year, and are looking forward to kicking things off in January, and maintaining a strong cadence to really work on some big problems. So I'm really excited at the progress they're making and more to come from them.
Yep, and consensus development is our group that's building out the consensus development process for the community. So as we're pulling everyone together to determine where standards are most needed, this will be kind of the process that we'll go through. So up next, Evidentiary Standards Subcommittee, Nita or Bronwyn. If you have any updates, if not, we can move on. Okay, let's go on to the Study Design Task Force.
I think Nita's trying to unmute herself. She said, go on, we'll come back.
Yeah, we'll loop back. Sounds good.
I think you're on mute, Wrenda.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
All right. Whoops. So 2 of the Study Design Task Force subcommittees are making progress towards our first charge of collating current recommendations regarding the level of evidence required to recommend PGX testing. The clinical and reimbursement subcommittees each had kickoff calls, And then the clinical subcommittee met last week to reach consensus on the list of PGX examples for which testing recommendations will be reviewed. We are still looking for additional members for the regulatory subcommittee. Specifically, we're looking for people with knowledge or experience in the process for evaluating whether to recommend testing for PGX or similar biomarkers that is used by FDA or international regulatory agencies. So if anyone has such experience or knowledge or knows individuals that do and may be interested in participating, please let us know. And we're hoping to complete charge 1 and start charge 2, which is reach consensus on the level of evidence required to recommend PGX testing within each subcommittee within the next year. We will work with consensus development on that second charge, so timeline may be dependent on their timelines as well. That's all I have.
Thanks, Wrenda.
Great. Thank you, Wrenda. Nita, back to you.
No, back to Bronwyn.
Or Bronwyn, either way.
She's running away. It's been a minute. We have had one meeting as a group. I think we're going to be working on division of labor soon for our 2 main tasks, and I think shortly we'll be working on sending out a doodle poll to our group to divvy up folks as to which tasks they want to work on.
Yeah, terrific.
Right.
So if Nita is able to come back online, we'll obviously make some time for her, and we'd like to use the time we have left, everybody, as an open discussion. Perhaps there's something that's been burning on your mind that you'd like to discuss. The last 10 minutes we have now is the opportunity to surface any topics, ideas, suggestions, or opportunities, amongst the community.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
I had to hold on the space bar. I don't know why it wouldn't let me unmute. Thanks, Ty. Sorry for that snafu. We have co-chairs, co-vice chairs named for the Evidentiary Standard Committee, and we are working on synthesizing and aligning the stakeholder perspectives in the PGX space. So working on our primary goal. Anyway, I will let you get on with the next thing.
Great. Yep. Thanks, Nita. Any questions or comments on today's presentations, general questions or comments, or anything you'd like to bring up with the community? Feel free to do so.
Kathy, you're on mute.
Thank you. I have a question in regards to the high incidence of unrecognized adverse drug reactions. Having been responsible for investigating Emmer events in the past, reporting on them, and also some personal experience of physicians who are in the room looking at the patient who's having an obvious adverse drug reaction and saying, well, I know it's not the medication. I've been prescribing this for 12 years and I've never seen one. And I'm like, you're not seeing it this time. So, maybe there were others you didn't see either. Is there anything that anybody's doing to address that?
That seems to be like the general impetus behind what a genome-wide association study would do for discovery of new gene-drug interactions in general. So I would say that's where most of them start, and then they go from there to a specific genotyping assay to look and validate whether or not you can reduce those. I think that's the general workflow of how we're looking at adverse drug reactions in general that are not initially known, but become known.
No, but I'm talking ones that are widely known already. Because when I look at the doctors not paying attention to it because it's so rare and they don't recognize that it's not as rare as they think. because it's already happening. I was just wondering, I also look at it for polypharmacy. Any patient that's on, 5 to 15 drugs, are the genetics involved in the cascade? So I was just wondering if there's anything anyone has that addresses that, to make sure that just because PGX is available, it's checked, is my question.
Yeah, and to your point, Kathy, I think the best opportunity we have as a community is if people are working on certain aspects of this, which I know different groups are, let's highlight that during National Adverse Drug Event Awareness Day. And that's kind of part of pulling together a planning committee around this, so we can raise awareness, that these events are happening and going unnoticed, which I would advocate, where it's possible to have kind of a dedicated pharmacist who is helping to look out for that as well too. I know not everyone has access to a dedicated pharmacist, but that's kind of a group that's always kind of suspecting the medication as leading to a new symptom. But yeah, I say let's get the word out there, and let's share what we're working on and what are kind of the best practices. And let's encourage patients as well to start sharing their story, because it's as easy as using the hashtag for the cause.
And speaking of sharing what each other are working on, one of the sections of our newsletter is an opportunity to highlight upcoming events that some of us may not even be aware of. And I wanted to take this time as an opportunity either to put into the chat or to send to Sarah and I individually any upcoming events. I know we have a lot of international members in the community as well, and we'd love to know what people are looking at attending in Q1 or in Q2 of the new year. I know seems like there's a Precision Medicine World Congress happening in January, and there's a PGX track that some of the members of our community have definitely had their hands in helping to shape, which is awesome. And so any other exciting opportunities like that we just frankly might not be aware of because everything else is going on, this would be a great opportunity to either bring those up, share them in the chat, or send us an email so we can get them in the next newsletter. Okay. Well, I think in the few minutes that we have left, I'd just like to highlight what some of the things that we have to look forward to in the next year. We're going to be launching new subcommittees for those of you that are out there that have previously expressed interest in some of the pathways for participation that we'd mentioned would take some time to activate. We're going to be activating new pathways for participation in the community. We're going to be launching and publishing and disseminating our community's first and annual strategic plan, Pathways for Progress, and PGX that we're really excited about, and generally looking to create some more community events in different parts of the country. So in summary, as I mentioned at the very beginning of our phone call, it's been quite a journey over the last 2 years, getting better acquainted and working with each and every one of you. We're very grateful for your time, participation, in support of the community, and most excited we're about the progress that we're making and how it's going to impact patients, how it's going to impact the delivery of care, as we heard from the speakers today, and just generally excited for the future. So with that, I'd like to say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. We look forward to seeing all of you guys in the new year. Take care, and all the best.